Okay, good evening. Sorry for the delay. This is a Conservation Commission meeting on Thursday, February 5th. We're just going to begin right away. We have the Girl Scouts of Easton, Massachusetts, Troop 70976, who are here to talk about their proposed bat boxes at Sandy Pond Recreation Area. You want to introduce yourselves and then tell us what you want?
Hi, my name is Kayla. We're part of the Girl Scout troop
Can you talk into the mic?
70976.
I'm Kaylee, and we're Girl Scouts of Troop 70976.
Hi, I'm Addison, and I'm also part of Troop 70976.
Thank you.
You might be asking yourself, what might the Silver Award be? Well, it is the highest honor a Girl Scout 6th through 8th grade can earn. It requires a team or individual project. It has to be approximately 50 hours per Girl Scout. There's also a deadline, which for us is in September. There are also action steps to achieve the Silver Award. Identify a community issue, work individually or in a small group as said before, develop a project that can and will change the environment. It also needs sustainability. Submit a project proposal to the council, the town, before beginning. Lastly, execute the project and submit a final report.
This is our Silver Award project, the Bat House Plan. We have found a problem and a solution. The problem is the mosquito population is going up in alarming rates over the years. The solution is identifying the main predator, which is bats. Another problem is bats have been taking refuge in people's chimneys. The solution is to build bat houses away from people's houses. That is a northern long-eared bat.
We're here to fix the mosquito problem. We're going to help lower the population by housing their biggest predators, bats.
We are building bat houses to help with the mosquitoes. Bats have a problem with humans. Bats also have been burrowing and making homes in people's chimneys. We're also putting the bat houses on poles, not the trees.
We will be doing our project at Sandy Pond Recreation Area in West Yarmouth, Massachusetts. We will be putting the houses up around late winter or early spring.
We are selling Girl Scout cookies to raise funds, taking donations to purchase the materials to build the bat houses, or buying bat houses pre-built. We are going to build a bat house or pre-built one, so by the end of the project we will have 3 bat houses located around the pond.
We are helping the community by lowering the mosquito population and unblocking people's chimneys. We're also helping the bats by giving them a home to keep them warm from cold winters, cool from hot summers, and shelter from the harsh weather climates. Also raise more and more generations of bats.
Thank you so much. Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Are you having fun?
Yes.
How many mosquitoes do the average bat eat at night? Do you know? Hundreds?
Probably.
Is that, do they come out at night to do the
Yeah.
Yeah,
sting?
they're nocturnal.
Well, this is great. We always could use environmental solutions to this rather than using sprays and stuff like that. So I'm speaking for the commission, we're very happy that you're doing this, and we'd love to see the final report. So, do we have to take a vote?
Yeah.
Okay,
That'd be great.
so we have to take a vote in accepting the project. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the project to build bat houses on Sandy Pond.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed? Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, how much money do you need? How many Girl Scout cookies do you need to sell?
I mean, donations we're probably getting will be put in.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm stuck in my chair.
If you could just say that this is an in-person meeting with remote access.
hearings.
We don't have IMO?
We do, if you could just say it on the record so that the public knows. We have
In-person meeting
with remote access.
with
yeah.
remote access, okay. So I just want to say there's an in-person meeting with remote access also. You can see there are people on Zoom. So, we're going to begin with a continued notice of intent, SE 83-2509, JM O'Reilly and Associates for Paul and Nancy Cruz, 4 Glenwood Street, proposed deck expansion, added addition, shed, sand nourishment, invasive species management in the velocity zone and buffer zones to a salt marsh. If you could introduce yourselves and.
Yes, good evening. My name's Matt Farrell from JM O'Reilly and Associates. To my right is Caitlin.
Caitlin Camilleri with Blue Flax Design.
And I think online is Teresa Sprague from Blue Flax. Also, the owners in the audience, Paul and Nancy Cruz. So this property is located at the end of Glenwood Street, frontage on Lewis Bay, served by an existing single-family dwelling, an existing raised septic, stone revetment along the south side of the property. Mr. and Mrs. Cruz purchased the property about a year ago and inherited an old enforcement order from the commission. There's a pre-existing plan. There's approximately 1,100 to 1,200 square feet of mitigation required. So the existing dwelling is located in the buffer zones to a salt marsh coastal bank, and the entire site is located in the velocity zone, elevation 13. So the proposal is to leave the existing structure and renovate the interior and exterior. On the south side, we're proposing to remove the existing landing and 2 sets of stairs and the existing brick patio and build a new deck and stairway off the west side. On the west side of the house, we're proposing to remove the existing hot tub, grill patio. We're also proposing to expand the existing deck there by about 7 feet, a total of 94 square feet. On the north side, we're proposing to remove an exterior step and stairway and make the interior kitchen a little bit bigger in that area. So removing the step and stair and then just bumping out the corner of the house about 17 square feet. We're also adding a outside shower rinse station on the north side. And then a proposed 8x12 shed. We are proposing to capture all the roof runoff with gutters, downspouts, and dry wells. Currently, everything just kind of pours onto the ground. And then Blue Flax has put together a mitigation and planting plan, so I'll hand it over to Cece now, and she can kind of review that with you folks.
Great, thanks, Matt. So our plan is proposing a total of 3,300 square feet of invasive species management and native plant restoration, which in the previously approved restoration mitigation plan, there was about 1,100 square feet of mitigation proposed. So we are taking that and adding onto it, tripling that amount. We're proposing invasive species management in the dark green hatched area just adjacent to the salt marsh, where we've observed bittersweet, black swallowwort, and Phragmites. So we're proposing to manage that in approximately 794 square feet. Just adjacent to that, we're proposing to create a vegetated buffer strip where there currently is lawn. This area will be about 966 square feet to be restored with native plants, shrubs. And then in the area just to the east of that is, yeah, thank you. In the lighter green area, we're proposing to remove existing lawn and rugosa rose and replant with native perennials, shrubs, and a grass and wildflower seed mix. And then moving south, there is a cluster of rugosa rose in the other light green area. We're proposing to remove that and restore that with native vegetation. And then in the tan area, we're proposing to restore this space with American beach grass and add approximately, I think it's 17 cubic yards of sand to help aid with the establishment of the beach grass. The existing fire pit area in the corner is to remain. This area is used frequently by the homeowners, and it's an important sitting space for them. And so we are proposing to keep that space. And the space above the leach field, the septic, back up in that corner, we're going to enhance that just to make it aesthetically more pleasing and create a small seating area in the center of it with a microclover fescue lawn and a native flower garden around that. So that is what we are proposing for this plan. Happy to answer questions that you may have.
And I'll just take it from here. So to conclude, we had a little bit of time since our last continuance. We did have a chance to meet with Brittany last week. We understand your regulations of, no structures in the velocity zone and the 35-foot no disturb zone. So we have requested a variance for that work. We hope that what we're doing to the site, can allow the commission to approve the variance for the construction work. As Cece stated, Blue Flax has spec'd about 3,000 square foot of mitigation. Where about 1,200 was required from the old enforcement order, so it's about 1,800 square feet overall. And at that, we'll open it up to questions from the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody want to start, or? Go ahead, Ellen.
Okay. I'm looking at the drawing that has the area calculations table on it.
Yep.
Is that on there? I was just trying to reconcile that with the description. Could you walk me through the mitigation? There it says proposed mitigation, the 966 square feet.
Yeah, that's just part of it. The 966 square feet is which part of the mitigation?
Part of it?
It
Oh,
is
okay.
the
It's on another, is it on another sheet or something?
It is not on another sheet. When I put this plan together, I was under the assumption that that was the total mitigation that they're proposing, but it's much, much more than that.
So is that this light brown?
It is
Is that the
966 is that vegetated buffer strip. And then, because I think it might have been confusing because I broke out each kind of hatched area in square footage.
Okay.
But the total mitigation that we are offering is 3,300
Yeah.
square feet.
That's what, okay, I was just confused with the table.
Yes, I understand. That was, yeah.
And then my last question was the detail on that sheet, the erosion control detail. You mentioned that you had a buffer or swale, or how does this work? What is the direction of the flow? What is that doing, this erosion control detail?
Well, basically, it's a silt fence.
Okay.
This is a 9-inch round straw wattle. So it's like a hay tube, if you will, 9 feet around. And then that's staked in place along the limit of work line. So if if there's any stockpile material, which I'm sure you're gonna condition it so we can't have any stock, but if there's any erosion or a storm that happens when construction is going on, it would protect the resources
Just for
from.
during construction, and then it will be removed?
Correct.
Okay, it's for, okay, it isn't for water flow or anything directional like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just for construction.
I just wanted to make sure, so. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Sure, I'll go, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just to kind of go off of Ellie's question about the mitigation table. I don't believe the hot tub was previously permitted, so, and I think that calculation was put into the mitigation table. So I think we just need to kind of tweak those numbers a little bit with the permitted versus unpermitted structures and stuff like that.
Yeah, it gets kind of messy. I mean, the owners bought the house with the hot tub there, so.
Understandable.
I understand there's no paperwork, or it wasn't previously approved, but in our eyes, we're removing that, whether it was put there with a permit or not. I mean, I can subtract the numbers out if that helps, but it's an existing structure that we're taking out.
Okay.
Does that include the fire pit?
No, the fire pit is proposed to remain.
But is it included in your calculations?
Is not.
Okay.
Anybody else? Oh, no? So I have a couple of questions and issues. My main issue is that the whole property's in the velocity zone, so I have trouble with you keeping the fire pit, because I think the reason we have a velocity zone is to make sure things aren't spread out in case of a major storm. The driveway, I think, is impervious, am I right?
The paved driveway, yep.
Yeah, and maybe it would help if you made the driveway impervious.
Pervious.
I mean, made the driveway pervious, sorry, used the wrong words. And I also have trouble with the shed in the back, too. I don't have a problem with the tiny addition or the rinse station. But I do have trouble with the shed in the back, because again, it's in the velocity zone. I know it's tough because I live in a postage stamp property too, without a basement, and thank goodness I can have a shed, but there are reasons why we have the regulation. And my last issue is the fact that you want a deck versus a patio, and again, it's a velocity zone issue for me. My question is, one question has to do with the amount of, in the previous approved plan that they never, previous owners, I understand, never finished. It was 1,200 square feet, and you're doing 3,300. Is that calculation of 3,300 because you're going to have more, take away more places to plant? I mean, take more places that you're building, or is that how you came to the 3,300? Or is it part of the plan to protect the property from storms too?
Yes, the 3,300 is, the 1,200 is almost existing in the tan, which was on the previously approved plan, and we're just increasing that. And we feel that adding that vegetated buffer strip is more valuable than the previously approved mitigation plan, because we're enhancing the value of the health of the salt marsh by removing lawn and creating a vegetated buffer strip that will slow water and storm water and filter before reaching the salt marsh.
Okay.
So yeah, just to be 100% clear, there's 12 feet of lawn area, approximately 11, 12 feet wide that they're taking out and vegetating.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm talking for myself, not for the other commissioners, but I would not approve this as it stands with the shed. And I would like to see a patio instead of a deck. And and I'd like to see the driveway being made pervious, then I'd be more likely to consider okaying it. As I said, I'm okay with the rinse station and the tiny addition, which I believe is next to the rinse station. But I'm speaking for myself.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yeah.
I would actually be okay with the shed where it's located, just because it is next to the concrete wall. So if there were to be floodwaters, there already is a structure there that the water would be running into. So I'm less concerned about that, but I do second your comment about having the pervious driveway. Those are just my thoughts.
Anybody else?
Well, it's a complex structure, a site. And, of course, it would never be built. And, today. And we know storms are coming. So I agree, well, you could put that shed in there, but it needs to be anchored. There's no way you're not gonna get a storm up there that's gonna, unless you put in concrete footings and things, it's just gonna disappear. So I think that, and the fire pit, it's dangerous, it's, things, you might leave a chair out there and a storm comes along and you're not home, and so it's really a hard situation for you as new owners. But on the other hand, I think that we need to give a little, take a little, and I would agree with pretty much what Dave is saying, and if you anchored the shed, maybe that also.
Yeah, I think like to see a new plan see what an anchored shed would look like and get some information about that.
So, some details about how it would be anchored, is that?
Yeah. And then consider the pervious driveway. And for me, a plan without the fire pit.
Well, unfortunately, the fire pit is one of the prize sites on the house. They spend a lot of time there, and I will say that they really like that part of the property and use it.
Is there such a thing as a non-permanent fire pit, the one that you?
Yes.
Non-permanent?
Yeah. I think that the homeowners are open to creating a non-permanent
One
fire
they can
pit, like
move
a
if
solo
there's
stove.
Name storm coming and they know it?
Put it in the shed.
Sure.
Just come to the microphone since you're the homeowner so we can hear you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Paul Cruz, I'm one of the owners with my wife. The actual fire pit, the stone there, we have no problems removing that. It's more the location of sitting with the family and watching the sunsets. So the actual, removing the actual fire pit, I agree with you, I don't want those stones flying in a storm. So it was more the location that we were concerned with. And I agree, Mr. Frost, about anchoring the shed. I'd like to keep my shed. With regards to the impervious driveway, I can discuss with my wife, that could be an option also. And with regards to the decks, if I may, we're proposing, there's the walkout on those two front steps that, Britton, you just had that foot. You go to that. Yeah, right there. We're proposing getting rid of the bricks, because again, we also don't want those flying around too. And basically extending out on both of those sides, probably about 5 feet on each side, and creating just that. And the width, I believe, is about the same. I think it's about 6 feet, 5-6 feet. So that would be that. And we figure it's like, we don't want the brick, we will make that, the fescue lawn, or sand, I don't know what was on the plan. And then I understand, Mr. Bauer, about the hot tub. It was there. And we met with Brittany before we bought the house. I don't know if you're familiar, I'm sure you're all familiar with this property and the problems that the property had. We're trying to make this a great property, at the same time, protect that salt marsh, because there are issues in that salt marsh. And that's why, when we met with Blue Flax, we wanted to do, it's like, well, we don't need to do 3,000 square feet. No, I understand that, but we want this aesthetically pleasing, we want it to be safe, and we want it to protect both the salt marsh and the home.
Is your proposal to get rid of the hot tub?
Yes.
Okay.
No, but we were extending the deck about 6 or 7 feet into that,
Into where the hot tub?
into where the hot tub is. It's just a continuation of that deck,
And how high is the 2 decks going to be off the ground?
the same.
Which is how high?
I don't have a measurement. 3.5 feet. Yeah, we weren't looking to just basically extend the deck, resecure the new pieces, and the front deck would have been the same, the same height that it is on that. And that's it.
Anybody else in Brittany?
Yes, we did meet and we discussed some plan revisions. From my perspective, just to meet our plan requirements, I'd like the buffer zone lines to be edited so that we can clearly see the zones of the 35 like we discussed, and definitely the mitigation table that we've been talking about to eliminate the unapproved previous cover areas and clarify the mitigation planting total, what's for this project minus what we have for the enforcement order, and having a total there to match the Blue Flax plan, which she has it called out in the notes, how it's separated, just to have everything in one place on the approved plan. And those are all my comments. Just to remind the commission, this is a variance request for both the velocity zone regulations and the 35-foot no disturb buffer. Thank you.
Anybody in the audience have comment, a question? Having seen none, anybody on Zoom? Raise your hand. I don't see anybody raising their hand. All right, Bradford?
Nope.
Young eyes, thank you. Okay, so what I'd like to see is a continuance to have the new plans with what we've discussed. And do you want to get up the calendar to see when they could do that?
We've got the 19th is the next meeting in 2 weeks. So revised plans would be due in 1 week, or the March 5th, and they'd be due the 26th.
I'm not here on the 5th, but you can.
I'm just thinking based on my schedule, probably 1 more.
Okay. So you're okay not being here for the 5th? March 5th? There's also March 19th.
Yeah, March 19th.
Okay, yeah, we'll take the 5th. I can always zoom in.
I'm sorry, what?
So which day do you?
The 5th.
The 5th, okay. So can I hear a motion to continue to the 5th?
I move we continue this project to March 5th.
Okay, and second, anybody?
I'll second that.
Okay, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is Interfluve for Town of Yarmouth, 110 Ware Road, proposed ecological restoration, including cranberry bog and stream restoration, removal of tidal restrictions, and water control structures, undersized culvert replacement, and public access components in the BVW, Salt Marsh Riverfront area, land under water bodies and coastal bank, there's a lot of words here, and land subject to coastal study.
Good evening. My name is Rick Bishop. I'm the Executive Director for the Friends of Bass River. And to my right is Nick Nelson he's a geomorphologist with the Interfluve firm. This evening, I'd like to put into context some of the details of the project before Nick takes over for the formal presentation. In 2020, the Friends of Bass River identified the opportunity and the importance of restoration of the upper Bass River headwaters area. It was a significant water quality issue at the end of Bass River, and this would be a solution to, or one of the solutions to those challenges. In that year of 2020, we identified the opportunity to fund a preliminary design for this solution through something called a SNEP grant. Thanks to input from Nick Nelson of Interfluve, Eric Ohanian from Ty and Bond, Arden Heron from Woods Hole Group, Kelly Grant, the former Town of Yarmouth Conservation Administrator, we were able to successfully apply for funding for this preliminary design. It was approximately $300,000 as a way to get the project underway and to kind of understand some of the opportunities we would have for solving the issues we were facing. Over the course of these 6 years, which doesn't seem possible, it's gone by so quickly, we've made a lot of great progress. We've had great support from the town of Yarmouth, the town of Dennis CPC, funding from a number of federal and state sources. We had the great fortune to be selected by Mass DER and were awarded priority project status for the Upper Bass River headwaters restoration. And that's taken us away. They've provided a lot of great technical resources as well as some funding. Again, we're now at approximately 90% design standards for the project, and that's where we're now entering the permitting phase. And at this point, I'd like to hand it off to Nick, who can take us in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you all for hearing us. My name is Nick Nelson, geomorphologist with Interfluve, a river and wetland restoration firm. I'm going to walk us through this project, and I'll try to keep it to about 15 minutes or so. So I'll try to keep track on my watch so I don't go over. My hope is to give you a tour of this site, as it's a little bit tricky to do so right now with all the snow out there, and then provide a summary of the designs, and then go through some existing project examples that have some similar elements to this one itself. As big picture, thinking about where we are in the watershed here, this project is at the upper end of the Bass River watershed, where it's called Hamlin's Brook. And you may have also heard that there's discussions about replacing the North Dennis Road crossing further downstream. That one is not part of this particular project. It's adjacent, so you will be hearing about that at a later time. But today we're going to be focused on the abandoned cranberry bogs and crossings that are in the headwaters. And so generally, big picture here, this is an ecological restoration project. We're applying for an ecological restoration order of conditions. And as with many of the other similar projects, the goals for this effort are to improve resiliency for climate change and sea level rise as well, improve water quality, improve passive recreation, improve fish passage through these areas, lots of other elements that go along with holistic restoration. We've got a large team, as is common with these projects as well. I may have missed a few team members here. We have some in the audience and online as well. Both the project partners at the top, upper left there, Town of Yarmouth, Friends of Bass River, Mass Division of Ecological Restoration, and the Coastal Zone Management as well. On the design side, we have been leading the ecological restoration of the retired cranberry bogs. Ty and Bond has been leading the replacement designs for the Weir Road crossing, which is right here in the middle. And Stimson Associates is a landscape architecture firm that has been leading the designs for the pedestrian crossings. These are some examples of other projects that have gone through the Ecological Restoration Notice of Intent. There are likely others, but these are other retired cranberry bog projects that have gone through this as well. So it's not a new process. it is a relatively new process, but it's been going through over the last year or so of a number of examples here, which is great. So I'm going to bring you through a picture tour here, and you'll notice in a number of spots where it looks pretty nice. And you might wonder why we are doing this restoration project and why change what already looks to be decent habitat. And so some of the elements that are degrading the habitat here are a little bit tricky to see because this site has been abandoned for over 50 years. So there's been a lot of plant growth, a lot of recovery since that time. But in this particular picture, we're starting the upstream end of the project site. We're looking at a portion of Miss Thatcher's Pond. And what you can't really see very well is a big patch of invasive Phragmites over here, as well as the dam and fish ladder that restrict flow on the downstream end. So this is part of an earthen berm here, a concrete dam and fish ladder, just on the downstream end of that. If we continue to move downstream and we see a former cranberry bog here, again, doesn't look like it, but there are ditches throughout here. This is the stream channel, and this is actually an example of a narrow spot here where some large wood here fell in and created a bit of a constriction. This gives us a sense of what the channel dimensions should be in this area, and that is the designed channel dimension in this particular area. You'll see in other locations where the existing channel is over widened in further downstream locations. Again, this is a wetland upstream of Weir Road. This is actually a location where we won't be touching anything here at all. This is a part of the former cranberry bog again, but not in an area that we will be disturbing. So that will remain as is, but evolve over time as these conditions shift. Close to Weir Road, we can see earthen berm here that separates the waterway on this side from the wetland on the other side. This is a berm that will go away during construction as part of these designs. That is something that prevents water flow right now and prevents that continuity of flow. And this is Weir Road. So this is the small culvert underneath the road. Again, hard to really see the culvert or the condition of it, but suffice it to say it's much too small for the waterway here. And this is one element of replacement and with a larger crossing here. Downstream of Weir Road is a pretty special place also, and we have minimal disturbance in this area. This is a location, a really good example of some of the microtopography that occurs in wetlands, and this is some of what we'll be trying to recreate in some areas. So nearby, this particular spot is another location, if the slide would shift, there we go, of ditches. So these, you can see those former cranberry bog ditches. And so there are elements of this section downstream of Weir Road where we'll be filling these ditches, plugging these ditches, and doing some of that microtopography within those areas or adjacent to those areas of ditch fill. It's not going to be like you'll see on some of the other projects where there's disturbance everywhere. This is sort of a selective, go in, fill some of these ditches, do some microtopography to break up that sand layer that was laid on the cranberry bogs and increase the ecological function there. The stream channel in this location gets wider downstream of Weir Road. In the proposed condition, this will become more and more tidal over time. So we do not plan to adjust the channel for most of that area downstream of Weir Road. So this is the channel width. That's what the channel width will be afterwards. That will remain as is. This is the earthen berm and stream crossing as you connect from Cheyenne Road or Cheyenne Lane to Knollwood Drive. And that little tiny pipe that you see under there is what's conveying Hamblin's Brook right now. It's pretty squashed and plugged up, hard for fish to get through there. So this will be removed, and there'll be another location where the berm will be cut and a larger crossing will be put in. These are some of the upland mounds downstream of that earthen berm that were part of the farming disturbance. This is an area of staging that you'll see on the plans, and these mounds will be removed. The earth will be used to fill the ditches nearby. Any wood that is needing to be cleared as part of the staging areas and other work will be worked into the channel habitat and floodplain habitat. This is just an example of some of the flow control structures throughout the site. This is what disrupts flow, blocks fish passage when there are boards put in there. And so all of these flow control structures and berms will be removed. Moving downstream from that earthen berm between Cheyenne Lane and Knollwood, again, a series of earthen berms separating wetlands on either side. This is the area on the drawing set where you'll see the boardwalk that Stimson designed. It's not a boardwalk for the entire area, but portions of this berm will come out and sections of boardwalk put in place. So that will be able to allow for full connectivity between those areas. This is at the far downstream end, looking upstream at the channel. You'll see a lot of Phragmites up here. That will be part of the treatment for this area, but no real work done in the stream channel here itself. Just invasive plant management and then removal of the earthen berm at the downstream end. So that was sort of a review of kind of site conditions, current site conditions as you go from the upstream end of Miss Thatcher's Pond, past the dam and fish ladder here, across Weir Road, across the earthen berm, and down into Mill Pond. Currently, the system is tidal up to this earthen berm, but that crushed culvert blocks things. So I'm going to start with overview of the designs from the upstream end moving downstream. And just, these are not engineering designs I'm showing you because you have those in front of you, but this is for the broader audience to give a general idea of what we're planning on. This portion of Miss Thatcher's Pond here will remain unchanged. We recognize the value of that open water for waterfowl and for other ecosystems in that area. And the dam in this location will be removed, so this open water here will be reduced to a smaller open water and deeper pond here with a meandering channel upstream and downstream of that point. The berm along this location here will be removed, and a trail with no infrastructure, but a trail through that on the forested area will be available for pedestrian use from Weir Road to connect over in this area. So these trails will still remain accessible to landowners. As I mentioned, Weir Road will be replaced with a much larger crossing, and I'll show you that in a moment. As we move downstream into Cell 5, again, less disturbance, so no channel construction through this dashed area. A little bit of channel construction at the downstream end here as you go through a new crossing to replace that undersized culvert at that earthen berm. And then the new channel as it comes underneath Weir Road here to connect with the existing channel. This berm on the southern and eastern edge will be removed and pushed into the ditch here to remove that ditch along the edge. And then there'll be some areas of invasive plant management and ditch filling, ditch plugging, and microtopography. There'll be some filling of ditches here and microtopography on this side as well. Pedestrian crossing number 2 will go here. Sorry, I forgot to mention where the dam currently is at the upstream end. That is where pedestrian crossing number 1 will go. So this is pedestrian crossing number 2 that allows pedestrians to continue walking through the site. Moving downstream into cells 6 and 7, we'll have pedestrian crossing number 3 that goes over that earthen berm, connects that earthen berm, so that access will remain. And then we'll have the boardwalk that extends along this berm here, where portions of that berm will go away. And the ditch that you see just to the south, that will get filled in with the earth that comes out of the berm there. Mostly invasive plant removal in that location, earthen berm removal at the downstream end, and then where these big pine trees are over here, some sand removal and ditch filling, as that has become more of an upland area instead of a wetland. So with all of this done in this area, we'll see more tidal conveyance in this area, especially as North Dennis Road gets replaced in the future, and they'll have connectivity here rather than blockages of flow with this berm. This is one typical detail of the Weir Road crossing. So this is a cross section looking at a Weir Road developed by Ty and Bond. They are joining us virtually and can show more details if there are questions about this later. But what we're looking at here is the top of the road surface here, the new water line, which will go in this location here, which is a little bit higher than where it is right now. Currently, it's down in this elevation. And this will be the structure that will be put in place. This arch with footings here. The total span of that arch is 24 feet wide. It provides a 14-foot wide channel, top of bank to top of bank, with a terrestrial bench on each side so that turtles, raccoons, otters, other critters can move through Weir Road without having to go up and over the road. The pedestrian crossings, we walked through those before in terms of the location. We have pedestrian crossing 1 at the upstream end here, 2 just downstream of Weir Road, number 3 at the earthen berm down there, and the boardwalk further downstream. Crossings 1 and 2 are very similar in that it's just a pedestrian crossing with no hand railings because they'll be low to the floodplain. And this is what they will look like. Come on. It's sensitive. Okay, there we go. So we have in cross section at the top and then looking down on it for the bottom image there. A bit of a unique design here where there are logs interlocking on the edges and then boards for walking across on top and just a small rail on the edge so you don't roll off it or walk or step over it. And then crossing number 3 is a little bit higher because it's connecting along the earthen berm, so it's going to be higher off the channel, and therefore we have a handrail on either side of the crossing there. The boardwalk, this is one section of the boardwalk shown here. There will be 4 boardwalks as shown in the design drawings at different lengths to span the different cuts in the earthen berm. This is designed as wooden piles with the boardwalk in between those piles that go in that kind of crisscross fashion there. You can see the supporting structures underneath that cross underneath there with the plankings on top. The walkway is about 4 feet wide. And okay, so that was sort of a summary of the designs. And we can answer lots of questions, but I did want to show you some images of past projects to see what has been going on elsewhere in the region. We've been working on these types of projects since the first one in 2007, which was Eel River in Plymouth. These images here that you see are Tidmarsh Farms, which was done in 2016. Different from our site here in that these were recently farmed just prior to construction. So you can see kind of the recent farmland there. Lots of disturbance, full channel reconstruction. But very soon after construction, you can see how quickly it rebounds. So this is just a year or so after construction, and you can see all the vegetation that comes up. None of that was planted. That all came up from the seed bank. And this is Eel River 12 years after construction. Here, 17,000 Atlantic white cedar trees were planted. They were 3 feet tall at the time. Now they're about 30 feet tall and recreating an Atlantic white cedar swamp with copious sphagnum moss and cranberries and all sorts of other plants growing. Again, our site here at Bass River has been abandoned for 50 years, more similar to Coldbrook and Harwich at this location, which was abandoned for about 20 plus years before construction here. So you can see prior to construction, lots of trees, looked great, lots of habitat there, but again, it had a lot of the same fish passage constrictions and ecological impairments as the Bass River. During construction, disturbance with pond creation, channel reconstruction, stream crossings, microtopography. And then 3 months after construction, we can see the plant growth right away, comes right up. This was done last year. If you go back there now, it's even more so. It's green. This is the salt marsh portion of this project with a new tidal channel created. And then just a few months after construction, if it will go, there we go. And so this is really greened up since these pictures were taken as well. A dozen or so dragonfly species have been identified out there, river otters, swans, ducks. Many species have been found at this site. And so that is what we wanted to spin through here. There's one more slide. A couple shots of Upper Coonamessett also, which is similar, and that was abandoned about 15 years, 20 years prior to construction as well, just to show you how quickly these sites rebound. This crossing here, not exactly what we're going to see at Weir Road, but the similarities being that Ty and Bond designed this one, and we were designing ecological restoration. This was a series of tiny little pipes and opened up to a much larger crossing. Again, not the same designs as the Weir Road, but similar idea. And other examples of pedestrian crossings that we've seen at other sites as well, designed by Stimson. Our project schedule, we're in permitting right now, certainly, and as Rick said, we've been at this for a number of years. The Weir Road crossing will also be going through the Chapter 85 process with Mass DOT, and we hope to go to bidding towards the end of this year and begin construction. And Rick, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yes. Beyond the water quality improvement that this project will achieve, the fish habitat restoration is really, really significant. In 1853, Hamlin's Brook, which is the brook that Nick was describing earlier, had the second largest herring catch in all of Massachusetts. Last spring, I saw 3 herring trying to get through that collapsed culvert. So we're really excited about the possibility of reestablishing this fish habitat. In the Coonamessett River, they opened up their culvert on April 1st. On April 7th, they had herring. So it's a real important opportunity for the fish habitat to return there, as well as the water quality improvement. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Happy to take any questions, and I know we have partners on the line that can show more details for the Weir Road crossing as well, if you'd like.
To let you know, we still haven't got a DEP number, so we'll definitely have to continue because of that alone, but we'll go from there. Questions? Go ahead.
Sure. So was it ever discussed, just sort of big picture, was it ever discussed to have the structures as a separate application, the bridges? I guess this is for Brittany. Was there, and this whole thing is, okay, just, it's a lot. But first, I commend you for the amazing, incredible survey that you have done, and the sequencing of the cells and determination of that. And could you talk a little bit about how you came to this alternate being you didn't speak of the alternates, not that we want to talk about the alternates that aren't preferred, but
Sure.
could you just speak about why this alternate was decided upon? It's probably worth mentioning.
Absolutely.
Of it, yeah.
Yeah, no, great question. I think for many of these projects, there's probably 3 primary alternatives. One is, really simply removing the flow control structures and barriers to flow and just letting the site kind of mature in whatever trajectory it goes. The other is sort of full impact for the whole area, removing sand that was placed by the farmers to get closer to the groundwater level and get closer to that kind of holistic wetland ecosystem. And the other is what we've approached here is more of a nuanced approach with selective treatments. And that was because of the maturity that we saw out on the site that is there now in terms of the ecosystems that have evolved there. We did not want to take a heavy-handed approach. I know this seems heavy-handed because there's a lot of work being done, but we didn't want to kind of strip the entirety of the former cranberry bogs and restart. So there is value to a lot of those wetlands that have evolved there, and we're hoping that these actions help to enhance that rather than remove that.
You know, Ellie and Brad and Jack, as soon as the snow is gone, I'd be happy to give you a tour of the site because nothing really can replace the boots on the ground experience for this project because it's quite significant, but you can really understand, you know, what our proposal is as well as what the benefits will be.
Yeah, there's a lot, it's an amazing effort. I know a lot of this is, you know, holistically, but talk to me about how, like, specifically, like, in cell 6 and 7, when you speak to, what's the sign, what it says, fill existing, for example, fill existing stream to match adjacent wetland elevation, typo, but anyway, sorry.
Oh, yeah, definitely call me out on those. We got those.
I'm sorry, I just saw that. I
No,
don't mean
that's
to be
good.
rude. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so-
And how long does that take for it to reach that kind of equilibrium? You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. I'm trying to go backwards on this.
It would be like if you have sheets there, like 6,
Which one do you want?
Yeah, but I don't know. Just the overview of the design for the downstream end. Yeah, go down. Yeah. Up, sorry.
Projects.
You're right.
One of these.
There we go, down. Yes, right there. So I think you're referring to this ditch being filled in over here.
yeah, yes.
So for the most part, all of this work is done by an excavator. So there'll be excavators of various sizes depending on the work that needs to be done. So an excavator will walk out on that earthen berm.
Okay.
And in the areas where we're showing the berm being removed, it will dig that berm out and just push it into the ditch that's next to it. And so they'll put the earth into that ditch so that it matches the elevation of the wetland that's right on this side. So in the future experience, when you're walking across that boardwalk, it'll be like you're just walking across a wetland or salt marsh as it evolves into a salt marsh. And it'll be a continuous salt marsh or wetland from this side across through that opening of the berm into this other space over here. And if there's not enough earth in this berm to fill that ditch, we have those other mounds of upland over here that we're going to be lowered, and that material will go into those ditches. So there'll be no material that is excavated and taken off-site. All the excavated material will stay on-site and be used to fill ditches.
So, okay, because that was my concern on one of the impact on the, I think it was again cells 5 through 7. You're moving a lot of dirt, specifically, like over 3,000 yards of fill, but that is all coming from what you're dredging?
Coming from the excavation.
Not bringing in trucks of earth and
That's correct.
what have to ask what that is. It's all existing.
Yeah, we really, for these projects, our experience is that it's really expensive to bring material in and to get material off-site.
Yeah.
So for the most part, we try to have a balance of cut fill on the site.
Yeah.
And this particular site, we don't have anywhere else to put excavated material. On many other projects, we have big sand pits where the farmer took sand out of the hillside, and we can just fill those back in with excavated soil. But here we have to have it balance because we don't have those areas of fill.
Yeah, I think that's really important. the fact that you are, I mean, I'm looking at this sheet 26 to 27, where you actually you have a table specific to cells 5 through 8, where there's no change, you know, to the land, if you will. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to understand it, and it's super impressive. Again, the survey is just unbelievable. How long did it take you to do all that?
Well, we've been at it since 2020 and at various stages with the field work and designs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I don't know if there weren't really questions, but just to understand the project. But thank you so much.
Anybody else?
No, go ahead.
No, why don't you?
Well, I have a question if he doesn't want to talk. so. But yeah, how does this merge with the North Dennis Road project? It's interesting that this is done before that, you know, so could you just, in a nutshell, tell us about
Sure,
that?
absolutely. So I'll start maybe and then you can add.
Yeah.
Is that okay? So in terms of our designs for this, we are designing this project with the assumption that North Dennis Road will be opened up. And so from the hydraulics and evolution standpoint, we're assuming that will happen. So this will evolve from the site that it is now. If it's constructed a year before North Dennis Road or 2 years, whatever that might be, it can function well, and then it will evolve with the new condition once that's out. Ty and Bond is the same designer for North Dennis Road as it is for Weir Road, and the Woods Hole Group has done the modeling, the title modeling for both areas. So all of that information has meant for kind of a cohesive team of the design team and the project partners as well. So there's information sharing there.
So North Dennis Road is really a critical element of this entire project. If you know Mill Pond, which is beyond North Dennis Road, it's the most impaired body of water in all of Bass River, and it requires a 73% reduction in nitrogen. Part of that problem is a result of the 6-foot culvert, which doesn't allow sufficient volume of water to get up to Mill Pond. It enhances residents' time is there for a long period of time. And so when we open this up to a 60-foot wide bridge, we will solve that flow problem that has really contributed to the unhealthy nature of Mill Pond for decades. I mean, it's so bad that the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries has designated it as a prohibited area for shellfishing and fishing. So this will be a really important element in terms of improving water quality in the Bass River headwaters.
And also, I think I've asked this question before, but Crab Creek there, where a lot of people use that for fishing and so on and so forth. That will be enhanced by the opening of North Dennis Road.
Yes, Paul, it will. And actually, the Ty and Bond design has incorporated some significantly upgraded fishing areas as part of the bridge design. So I think the community will be very happy when they see the results of that.
For sure. And last question for me. You talk about the boardwalks and so on. So is there planning also about vehicle parking along any of this area? Because obviously it would be a tremendous recreation area or walking area for the town. So
Yeah, great
they
question.
gotta park their car someplace.
Good question. And I think that element is still in discussion with the town. It's all town-owned property there. We have an area of access and staging adjacent to Weir Road right now. That's a possibility for a location for a few parking spots. I think we don't want to open it up to a large parking space. We want to respect the neighborhood and their use, passive recreational use there, but also give that opportunity for a few vehicles to be able to park safely and be off the road.
Terrific. Okay, thank you.
Jack, you have anything?
Yeah. First thing is, what happened to the pesticides?
That was part of the farming?
Yeah, have you monitored that?
Yes, we did do some sampling. This was one of the first field efforts back in 2021, I believe. And I can send you, I can't remember if we included the results of those, that sampling.
Saw it nowhere.
What's that?
Would those be the boring logs?
No, the boring logs were for the Weir Road crossing, but we took sediment samples of the peat and sand in the various bogs there. And I think it was pretty minimal of what we observed there. Broadly, for these projects, we've been sampling them since that Eel River project back in 2007. And more recently, our efforts with DEP, conversations have happened between agencies at the state. They want to make sure all the material stays on site. If there is material that is contaminated with pesticides, DDT, dieldrin, whatever it might be, it gets taken off-site, that becomes problematic. But if they see it being reused on-site, they see it as not making things any worse there. It's there. It's been there for a long time. And that's been the permitting process for many other projects. On this site, I have to look back at the results, but I don't think we had heavy instances of those contaminants like we have on some others.
Yeah, I think that we'll need to see some of the results, and whatever DEP says, if you're going to put it back, like you're putting sand back in there, and if you're using it, it could accumulate, or touch areas that the pesticide wasn't there before. So anything that you dump back in is going to need some kind of measurement of pesticide levels before it's reused. That would be my opinion. So what about costs? This is an area that, in a sense, you're sort of taking advantage of the areas, like you said, that have been there a long time, 50 years, and they've grown back. And some people might think, why aren't you really treating those other areas for something a little better? Is cost enter that picture?
Cost has been a factor all along in considering all of our treatments, I think. We, from the early stages of design, trying to develop concept cost estimates to help guide the process, both with Ty and Bond as well from the structures and ourselves from the ecological restoration. So yes, cost is certainly a factor with all of this, as it is as our sea level rise and resiliency and all the other elements.
But I'm saying, did you actually make a decision based on just costs and not what you really wanted biologically or ecologically for the area to turn into?
I would say for the most part, we were driven by the ecological components here. I think as most of the projects, we come up with an initial design that we think benefits the most. And if that cost seems problematic to the project partners, then we adjust from there. But Rick and the project partners have done an amazing job of raising state and federal funds for this project to get us to this point. And I think we have all the funds in hand, is that right?
We do. And we have approximately $10.6 million in hand.
So the decisions to not remove sand across the entirety of the cranberry bogs, that was more of the intent to retain some of the function of the existing ecosystems out there.
What about fill? There are other ways of getting ditches filled in.
Mm-hmm.
What other ways did you consider, and why not? Or rather than whether you're throwing vegetation back in, things like that, and other alternative methods.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on what those other methods might be. Are you thinking of using large wood that might be taken down, or?
That's not me.
Yeah. So from what we've done in the past, the ditches is a location where the wetlands are being drained, and our goal is to stop that drainage, because if we can slow down that drainage pattern, then we can restore the hydrologic routines of those wetlands and restore the wetland functionality. So for both the lateral ditches and the perimeter ditches, filling those ditches with soil, preferably a mix of organic and sandy soil, that helps to slow that flow pattern down. If we were to fill it with vegetation or other refuse, there's too many void spaces in there that water would still be able to flow through. And so that's been what's worked in the past is grading the edges of the bogs by filling those ditches and creating a more gentle slope off of the edge to try to mimic what may have been there in the past also, and a more gentle slope into the bogs.
Well, then continuing from that, you've got your flow hydro models, quite extensive. How are you going to take those with you out into the field when you're actually doing the work? How are you gonna, do you think, what type of people are you gonna have there when you go into a stretch and you say, well, let's go down 5 inches, or let's, fill in this much, and how the model is gonna help you right then?
Yeah, so the model doesn't play too much of a role when we're in construction, unless there's a change in the site conditions or a change in design. That's when we might go back to the model and take a look at that to see what the impacts might be. But when we're in construction, we've typically worked with some pretty incredible contractors that have been doing this kind of work for a long time, and they're used to working in wetlands, and we are there with them, looking at the plans together, looking at the site conditions. They're digging a hole, we're looking at the profile, so we're looking at that together to see if it's matching the design intent and achieving the design goals.
So how about regulators? Are you gonna invite regulators along?
Absolutely. They are there commonly during this process. Commission members, DEP, Army Corps, they're always invited and welcome.
Do you hold status meetings or decision point meetings?
Weekly meetings for construction, and those are good times for anybody to visit, but typically the order of conditions and the conditions that DEP and the Army Corps put in their permits say that they will visit the site anytime they want, and that's understood by us as well. We typically have periods throughout the project where maybe halfway through, where we might have an open invitation, remind them about the project and invite them down to see it.
I'd like to see half a page, 2 pages on that process and how you get people together, make decisions, all of a sudden realize, whatever reason, that, it's not really what you thought it was. And having scheduled meetings, or at least say, okay, here we can schedule a meeting, but maybe we don't need it, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. In the recent one in Cold Brook and Harwich, the commission also asked for, I believe, quarterly updates at a hearing. So we presented updates to them throughout the year during that time. So that can be conditioned as well if that's a preference. But I can certainly put together some thoughts on the meeting schedule.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, that's about it for the moment. I hope to be a part of the going along and seeing it progress. I think you guys, Rick is proud. I know he's like a father on this, and rightfully so. I think that the community, though, has been behind him, and I talk to people on the association, and they really believe in this a lot. So it's great to see.
Great. Thank you, Jack.
So I've been out there, I think, 3 times. I'm very impressed, obviously, with what's going on, and happy it's moving ahead. I do have a couple of questions. Some been answered already. Stormwater report, do you think is one needed? And if so, is it going to get done?
Yeah, so we've been discussing this. I think at this point I am happy we have a little bit of a laundry list going of things that usually the contractor would prepare and submit later. And I think instead of a full-fledged stormwater report, we would just be fine with calculations being submitted along with all the other submissions, like the dewatering plan and planting plan later on. That's what I would suggest, because they're also subject to a SWIP and other stormwater requirements that will need to be done at some point. So those calculations will be in progress.
Yeah, in our experience with these projects, the SWIP is always required for the EPA construction general permit, but we haven't needed a stormwater plan because we're not building impervious surfaces out there. And for the Weir Road as well, they're not extending the size of that area or anything like that.
Are you going to have a trail map at some point?
Yeah, Friends of Bass River is really committed to their volunteers maintaining those trails, as well as signage is usually a part of some of the grants. So there will be some signage constructed as well, but we'll be part of that from the very beginning.
Brittany, you okay with the design of the bridges?
I think they're still in progress at this point, so the designs that you see in your plan set may change slightly by the time of construction.
And personally, I would have no problem if they become administratively approved rather than have to come back here for that.
So it depends on, we have all these items that was the same with the Baby Bogs project, the dewatering plan, spill prevention plan, planting, invasive management, to be submitted later. And for those you wanted to review them at a hearing, if you can do the same for them, that would make sense. So you can review any design changes to the bridges at the hearing then.
Right. And I agree with my other commissioners here. You guys have, Rick, I've been watching you do this since I've known you, so it's very impressive.
Thank you.
And I know the work you've been putting in on this. Go ahead.
I just have a follow-up. You mentioned on the bridges, in your presentation, I didn't see where, could we have a list of the other installations that are similar? That would be helpful to just look at those and, yeah, you had it in your proposal. And then when you speak of dewatering, there was you have like a narrative here, and I didn't know if the narrative, if the details superseded the narrative, because in the narrative you have some language that kind of is a little bit loose, where you say the proposed work has the potential to mobilize sediment through movement of heavy equipment across the wetlands. The contractor will likely divert flowing water through existing channels and ditches away from the active work area to limit sediment movement and turbidity. Pumps may be needed to move water out of a work area, et cetera, et cetera. Is that what is triggering this question for a dewatering plan?
I think, so the cofferdam plan is kind of solid, set in stone. They have a cofferdam plan. I think it's for the abutments for Weir Road.
It's
Is
for
that
Weir
correct?
Road.
Yeah,
Yep.
the dewatering plan. So they have like a general guideline, and then the details would be submitted later.
Okay,
So it does supersede, but it falls into everything that would already be approved.
okay.
Just be more detailed.
Yeah, and the dewatering for the road is really important, that they're working in dry conditions there.
Sure, yeah.
For the rest of it, as the sort of the more general comments there, the farm ditches have been helpful in the past to divert water flow in there while the contractors are working on the bogs elsewhere, and then inserting the water into the new channel. So that'll be part of that work plan. The contractor will develop a work plan
Yeah.
that we will review, partners will review, and that's where we'll see, all right, how are you actually doing this step to step?
Yeah,
How
that's
does this work?
super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, let my people go. You have the water flowing. It's like,
Yep,
now what?
it's complicated, yeah,
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
yeah.
Everyone would like to see a special condition for quarterly reports. I think that'll be
Okay, you
helpful
like
for us.
that hearing?
Anything to add, Brittany? Hasn't been said?
We went back, I submitted some questions that were mostly answered by Interfluve and some by Stimson. Just my primary concern at this point, really proud of the work that's been done, really looking forward to a big ecological restoration plan happening in Yarmouth. But since we are putting in infrastructure and we want to keep coastal resilience in mind, I think those crossings and boardwalks really have to consider the future floods that they're going to sustain and be maintained through, and have the town staff be able to perform regular, easy maintenance on them. So other than that, I'm very happy with the plans so far. I would definitely are most interested in the invasive plant management plan and planting plans. So those, if they're available before all of the other more construction items, would definitely like to see those. I loved the incorporation of different sizes of Atlantic white cedar in different places, but I understand that's just a recommendation. So I'd love to see that actually be in the planting plans if possible.
Yeah. In our final designs, that'll be sort of that next step of really diving into the numbers and species and sizes.
Okay, perfect. That's all. Thank you. We are still, so we're waiting for the DEP number and DMF comment. I know that they've put in a comment or two in previous items of permitting, but they still do need to respond to us as well.
One thing I think may have missed, but future flows coming up from the ocean and reaction as, you know, things fall apart, get eroded, whatever. Are you, do you have a sort of approach that you're taking to keep an eye on things over the next 5, 10 years?
This is not part of the application this evening, but the North Dennis Road culvert replacement, the town of Yarmouth has made a determination that they're going to be raising that road by 4 feet. So that consideration carries over all the way through Mill Pond into the wetlands areas. So it is on the table, it is, and I'm very much aware of it as part of the project.
I would say typically for the permits that we receive for these projects, there is a requirement for some sort of monitoring for usually up to 3 years. And I would imagine Rick and folks will be monitoring beyond that on a less formal basis, but there will be that requirement to have that monitoring for a period of time to evaluate the changes in vegetation and site conditions.
And a few people up in that area that live there that may see it come up in their yards.
Yeah, it's a good question just in terms of like what changes they'll see out there.
Yeah.
It's mostly freshwater vegetation right now. As things evolve, we'll start to see more and more saltwater vegetation along the edges of the channel. That will begin to expand eventually. Some of the freshwater trees and saplings that are there now will evolve over time. And we'll start to see that as we have elsewhere.
Okay, thanks.
I just have one more, I'm sorry, one more question. Will the Natural Resources Department be the main department to oversee this area?
Yes, I was with them today, and we had a conversation about that.
Thank you.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Anybody online, raise your hand. And I don't see anybody. So we need to just vote a continuance.
Yes. And I will also draft all the special conditions for your review before the next hearing, so that can be quickly issued after that.
Great.
So, date, best date?
19. February 19.
19th, do you think?
Enough time?
That's what I'm asking.
For what? We didn't ask for any revisions.
Yeah, there's no revisions
No
coming.
revisions needed, so
Yeah.
it's just a DEP number.
Yeah, a DEP number and DMF comment.
Great.
And to review any special conditions.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to continue to the 19th?
Yeah.
Second.
A second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Presentation.
Thank you for your time.
And I'm serious about that tour. I'd be happy to give that to you.
Too much time.
I apologize that I,
Yeah, you skipped one.
I was wondering what happened to that.
Yeah, I was really confused.
that was me, you're supposed to correct me when I missed that.
Well, by the time I noticed, they were already set up.
The reason is that
Thank you.
It's kind of buried in there.
Yes, I
I
can
saw Dennis Road and I'm saying, oh, that must be Rick. So, I apologize, Christian. So the next one is SE 832513, Christian Hayes, Cape Cod Bay off Lone Tree Creek, proposed.
Yeah.
aquaculture farm and land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, tidal flats,
State.
and NHESP habitat. I apologize for, but you probably learned a lot, so
Yes, it was very interesting listening to all that.
that's my excuse anyway.
No worries.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little bit about your proposal, project?
Yes, I propose a 2.7 acre aquaculture farm. I've gone through the process with Division Marine Fisheries, MISA, MIPA, Army Corps, and I'm sure there's several of them. I have them on file, all with approval. And basically, I'm just trying to get final approval from, going through the proper steps and starting this project out. There are 2 existing grants out there, John Reeves and Chris George. So I'm kind of like set right up in the middle of them, and I'd like to get going on that, and just waiting for some approval.
Any questions about?
Yeah, could you just put up the map again of where this is gonna be?
Yeah, so here's the map. This is Lone Tree Creek up here. Here's the site, Barnstable Harbor. This is the aerial image of, you can kind of see sort of everything that's in place for the 2 existing grants. And his is proposed right in between them.
Okay. That doesn't in any way restrict any kind of access by the general public to boating or even just walking out on the flats or whatever, does it?
No, and they are, all the grants are marked
Yep.
with buoys, the polyballs. There are a few boats moored in that Mill Creek,
Yep.
but it's very difficult for them to navigate because of the tidal issue
Of course.
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
And this was already approved by the Waterways and Shellfish
Yeah,
Advisory Board.
Yeah, I just, it's just such an incredible area. You just want to make sure that it's, I know it'll be taken care of very, very well, yeah.
Yes, have you seen the ones in Barnstable Harbor, all those guys out there? And their oyster grants?
Yeah, I
out in
guess
the middle of the
so.
harbor
You don't
here.
really, yeah. I mean, I oyster down there, but, so I'm not exactly sure where they're laid out. From Scudder Lane, that area? Yeah.
Straight out, due north, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great to see
Yeah, it's
that.
very low profile. I'm all completely underwater. I don't have any surface floats for oysters to grow. So if they're at high tide, there will be areas that boats can flow in and out of that area. But for the most part, once you hit half tide or so, bigger boats and even meat, yeah, you're not going to be getting in and out of there.
Right, okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I kind of got lost in the documents on, there seems to be like a conflict with the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the MEPA aquaculture filing is, I guess the basic question is, there's a statement here that says, as noted, the MEPA aquaculture filing incorrectly indicates, it's kind of like a double negative, incorrectly indicates that the project is not located within mapped rare species habitat.
Yeah, they're just saying
What does that say?
he triggered Natural Heritage or Massachusetts Endangered Species Act review, and he did complete it. It just wasn't done at the time of the MIPA letter. So they're saying he said it doesn't apply, but it does apply. And he then did all of the correct things after that in order to remedy that.
Oh, God, okay. All right, so we're good. I mean, the letter from the Division of Fishery and Wildlife is all as well here, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very confusing to go through all of it, I'll tell
I
you
can
what.
only imagine, yeah. Just take care of those piping plovers. Thank you.
Anything to add?
No, we'll just echo the 3 special conditions already listed in all of your approvals about the widgeon grass 25-foot buffer, the vertical lines kept under tension, and the entanglement. So you'll see those as special conditions, but there won't be anything else.
Anybody in the audience?
I have a question, actually.
Okay, sorry.
This is more for Brittany, but what address would this be recorded to since it's in the bay?
In the past, I don't believe that we have recorded aquaculture projects. I can check. So it is under his home address in all of our files, but it would not make sense to record it on his deed at his home. So I don't
Yeah.
believe that aquaculture grants get recorded at the registry. I can confirm with DEP on that.
The reason I ask is it kind of limits how we can enforce this in the future if there's no, it's not tied to any
Parcel,
yeah.
deed. That's a great question. I did check the other two that we have active and they are not recorded. So if that is an incorrect force of action, we can check with DEP on how to proceed. But we don't have so many of them as to build a good group of past proceedings.
I was more curious on that.
So since it is also, he had to go through Army Corps and MIPA, and the federal Fish and Wildlife, it's also under federal enforcement.
Yeah.
So he has many levels of special conditions pretty much to comply with. But I hear you.
Yeah. I also don't know how you got an Army Corps permit without a order of conditions, but doesn't matter.
I guess it's not,
It's a coordinate thing
Yeah.
and also navigation, because they deal with a lot of navigation.
Yeah, I've applied for a lot of Army Corps permits, and they normally ask for that order of conditions, so it doesn't matter. I'm just more curious on how that process went. But
yeah, the Army Corps letter doesn't even mention, I think it just doesn't, it says it doesn't, you still have to obtain other federal, state, and local authorizations that are required. It doesn't say you need them before, so. When did you, that one was one of the earlier ones. Oh no, this fall.
Okay. I'll ask once more, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Anybody else out there want to say anything? How about online? Raise your hand. Okay, so do I hear a motion to accept? So move, Paul, second.
I'll second.
Second,
Yeah.
Alan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to pick this up next week?
Sure.
Okay, we'll email you when it's ready.
God, even remember to sign.
Oh, right.
Thank you.
Oh, do you have a pen? This one's purple. I don't know what I am doing with this fake colors.
Okay, thank you. Next is SE 832514, Crawford Land Management for Scott Peterson, 10 and 20 Susan Road, proposed bank stabilization using core fiber rolls and invasive tree removal in coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flooding. Introduce yourself and go from there.
All right. Good evening, Nick Crawford from Crawford Land Management. What we have here is a coastal stabilization project where we're using bioengineering to stabilize the coastal bank. Currently, the site is predominantly lawn with invasive trees along the top of the bank that are in various degrees of being undermined, and I believe some have come down. We are proposing to stabilize the area with a coir fiber roll array that's 4 logs high. We are also proposing at the top of the array to remove lawn and install a native vegetative buffer strip to the top of the coastal bank to help with both stability and runoff from the lawn. As part of this, we'd be nourishing over the coir fiber rolls and planting with native species as part of the replanting plan. Brittany, we saw your questions. So as far as, as far as adding additional species to the array, we're that's totally fine. We can definitely make some revisions and do that. I saw the letter that you had attached from a
Yeah,
previous
from
project.
Circuit Rider, yeah.
So we can definitely make that adjustment. We're okay, you know, we want to keep the installation covered with sacrificial sand, so nourishment isn't an issue. And we're also okay with eliminating phase 2 of the
Okay.
project. That was, I had made the recommendation that if we're going to get permission for all of it at once, that way if they wanted to construct it later, they could without coming back. But they're not super interested in doing the second phase anyway, so I don't think that's an issue. As far as how the coir array the ends of the coir array will be installed, the one end butts up to the stone groin that's there at the moment, or would butt up to that. So we would die the installation into grade behind that stone groin. And then on the, just make sure that's north, yeah. On the southern end, we would taper it down from 4 logs to 1 and die it into grade, into the eroding coastal bank. Trying to think. I think those are most of your questions. And that's about it. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody have questions?
Could you speak to the rate of erosion at this site?
I can find that out. I can find out what the calculated annual rate of erosion is based on the length of the bank and the height of it, to get the estimated sacrificial nourishment that would need to be placed over it. I don't know the actual rate of erosion. I do know that if it's hard to see in like aerial photos on Google Earth and stuff like that because of the locust tree cover.
So actually, the reason I asked that is because through the aerials, the site seems fairly stable. It looked like there was an erosion event in like 2017, 2018 timeframe, but since then it hasn't really eroded significantly more than that, at least not from the aerials.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering what the purpose of this
I mean, I
project
think
would be.
Yeah, so I think with most areas, with the exception of like the coast along the Atlantic, erosion doesn't typically happen 1 foot per year. Usually things kind of stay stagnant, and then all of a sudden you'll get whacked with a storm and lose 3 or 4 feet all at once. And I think that's what you see in that aerial image. I think there's been perpetual undermining of the coastal bank for quite a period of time, as you can see in some of the photos that Brittany had. I think you could stick a tape measure 4 or 5 feet under those locust trees. And I do think that, you know, part of this project is also aimed at alleviating some of the negative impacts of the stone groin there.
Thank you. That was actually going to be my next question was, I didn't see in the alternatives analysis the potential for removing that stone groin and addressing the cause of potentially a lot of this erosion.
Yeah, well, right on the other side of the stone groin, there's also a bulkhead. I can't predict what would happen if the groin was removed, but I think that the negative impacts from the bulkhead would be similar to the groin. It might occur further down or closer to the bulkhead itself. I'm not quite sure. But which is why we're proposing, you know, a bioengineered kind of vegetated solution, whereas, you know, we're not looking to extend the bulkhead or make any more hard solutions further down to exacerbate the problem.
Okay.
I was just wondering if this application has proven successful before, has been utilized elsewhere? Because if
Yeah.
it works, that's a great thing.
Yeah, it certainly works. It definitely doesn't work forever. It is, it's like a semi-permanent solution. They have the ability to last up to 15+ years with proper maintenance, mostly keeping them covered and vegetated. But it certainly isn't forever. So, they do prove effective. We've installed thousands and thousands of linear feet of quarter fiber rolls along the Bass River. Also, both in kind of river systems, protected like estuarine systems like Green Pond and Falmouth, and even closer to open ocean conditions on the Sound in Chatham. And they've lasted up to, I know that we removed an installation that was previously done, I think, in 2008. And we replaced that in Chatham on Nantucket Sound 2 years ago. So it lasted 17 years. So they do have the ability to last. One of the biggest contributors to them not lasting their full potential is the UV degradation from the sun, which is why you want to keep it covered.
And then I was wondering, who named a tree of heaven or an invasive species?
Yeah.
Joke.
I do not know.
Tree of heaven.
How is this parcel used?
It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I know that I think they use this area a little bit during the summertime. I think they have a small like sunfish that they launch from this area at points during the summer. But it's, kind of passive.
So it's visual?
What's visual?
I mean, is that the use of it, is the visual scenery?
I mean, I suppose, obviously it's a nice view. I know that I don't know the particulars of how they utilize the whole property.
Well, I'm just trying to get a feel for why they want it in the first place. I think that, so you're not really talking about, it's not eroding, it's probably not providing anything to some other shoreline.
I mean, it is eroding. It is a sediment source over time, and that's what the sacrificial nourishment and required nourishment would supplant. But there's salt marsh adjacent to the kind of bare spot of beach on either side of it. So I think that the sacrificial nourishment will also help over time, slowly raising the elevation of the salt marsh, nourishing over it.
Okay, you said there's salt marsh on either side of it, so are you agreeing that this is salt marsh down here?
No, I think
Okay, on the
there
top.
was one more picture. There's just two patches of salt marsh.
Inside the groins?
No, further down, like where there it is.
And
So
where is
the end of
this?
the installation is, you can see the
groin.
one locust tree that kind of Y's out at the bottom. That's more or less where the end of the installation is. So there's salt marsh to both the right and left of the installation.
Okay,
seaward.
that's not shown on your plan.
Okay.
If you could add those in.
Yep.
Especially if
Yeah, we can make the revisions to revise the species, add a note about an annual nourishment trigger, and
the area that what led to my comment, which is ultimately up to the commission to recommend eliminating phase 2, is at this bottom end. I cannot identify salt marsh from an aerial image, but it looks like there
Okay.
could be.
There definitely is.
Down at this point,
Yes.
down here, yeah. So that also needs to be reflected on the existing conditions plan, because when we approve an order, we're approving everything, all the resource area boundaries on the plan. So who's your surveyor? So Dan will need to capture those, both these salt marshes here and the one at the bottom, even though work is not proposed
Right.
directly on it,
Okay.
since it's there.
Do you want just the landward extent or the whole polygon shape of the salt marsh? We can,
Yeah, because you're not going to be able to go out there right
well,
now.
right, yeah, exactly. So I think, would you be okay with
You mean just the,
locating them with aerial photography and making a note that resource delineation wasn't confirmed in the field?
that would be up to the commission. I'm not sure.
Well, could they, once they could do it in the field, could they make the adjustment if there is one?
Make the adjustment.
In other words, if you miss.
Oh,
Or
I see
just
what you're saying.
field located on a revised plan?
Let me talk to Down Cape and see what they have, because I know that obviously, we don't have the property all the way to the peninsula shown because it wasn't
Yeah.
part of the project. So there might be more information on the surveyor's existing conditions plan rather than the layers that we brought through onto the restoration plan. So I can double check that.
Okay, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to, not show the
Like the other
topo
side.
over here, cut
Yeah.
that off and just show the extent that is near your
Yep.
proposed project, that would be excellent.
Yeah, I do know that we did get actual spot elevations that you can see on there.
Yeah.
Where the X says X 1.0. We wanted to get spot grades so that we could make sure that the array was located in the right spot and is accurate for purposes of constructing it. So I'll double check what's on the survey existing conditions plan rather than the restoration plan.
Okay. Have you implemented projects like this for coastal bank stabilization when there's salt marsh footing it?
Yes,
And it doesn't have a negative impact, all the nourishment doesn't have a negative impact on the salt marsh?
not at all.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything else from you, Brittany?
You've answered all my questions. I would just echo the concerns for a coastal bank stabilization project on a parcel that is undeveloped.
That's kind of what I was alluding to as well, and taking into consideration the groin, because to me it seems like the groin is maybe the cause of a lot of this erosion over time. So providing some justification of, it's not the groin or
Right.
The wave energy is coming from a different direction or something like that, just to justify why this project's, it's more important to stabilize the dune than to just let it continue to erode naturally, knowing it's an undeveloped lot.
Anybody in the audience? Anybody online? Raise your hand.
Anybody still there?
So. we'll
I mean, I would recommend a continuance for review of revised plans.
Yeah.
And when would be the best?
I'd say, I think the earliest that the project would be implemented anyway was gonna be the fall.
Okay.
So I'd say let's continue for 1 month to the 5th, and that'll give us time to get in touch with Down Cape and also talk with the client and figure out answers to your questions, the salt marsh, and make the revisions.
Okay, do I hear such a motion?
What date is that?
The 5th?
March 5th, right?
I'll move that we continue this to March 5th, 2026.
And second for anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
could I request a 5-minute recess?
you must be hearing my own head, yes.
Okay, we're in a 5-minute recess. We'll resume at 7:00.
7:06. is that
Thank you.
right? 70, I can't see what that says.
7:08.
7:08. You want to go first?
There's one upstairs too.
All these old guys on the committee,
So is that groin, is the objective of the groin to prevent erosion initially? Oh, we're live, yeah, sorry.
I can.
We don't have 22 Driftwood Lane on our agenda,
No,
do we?
they did not complete their application,
Okay.
so it was moved to the next meeting. We had it on the draft agenda, but they didn't submit what we needed in time to
Okay.
get, to
Okay.
make it.
Thank you. It's like, am I missing something?
Keep that.
We're closed for the month, renovating, yeah.
What are they doing?
Expanding the front, like adding another espresso.
Expanding the actual building?
No, just the counter space, filling in, an opening, so that it'll be crazier than usual. Adding another oven for the breakfast sandwiches, so. It's gonna be a long line.
Yeah.
Guess that's the objective, yeah.
We'll have to
Thankfully,
make
I'm in the
sandwiches
back.
faster.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it would make my life harder to make more breakfast sandwiches. That's what I do in the back.
We don't bake bread though anymore.
No, it used to be that, we use that oven though. It's enormous. That,
Oh, it was great bread.
I
wish
can only
they were still
imagine
doing
that
it.
oven is the real deal.
During COVID, I would drive over there.
We just use that oven now for, just baking.
cousin is an avid skier, and they put her on the trail. There's a photo of her on the new posted trail maps for Winter Park 2026. You can't see her face. She's just wears very bright ski attire, so she was good for the trail map.
People are going skiing this weekend.
It's gonna be very cold. New Hampshire's gonna be, Vermont and New Hampshire will be -6 degrees before the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not me. The young people, like Brittany. 3 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
We are back in session. It is 7:09, is that what it says? Right, so we are at SE 832510, Town Cape Engineering for Angela Cosenzi, I hope I pronounced that right, 29 Lewis Bay Boulevard, Unit 6. Proposed relocation elevation of a dwelling with additions in land subject to coastal stream flooding and the buffer zones to a coastal bank and beach.
Good evening. For the record, Danny Gonzalez, professional engineer with Down Cape Engineering, here on behalf of the client, Angela Cosenzi, and her project at 29 Lewis Bay Boulevard. This dwelling is a part of the Yarmouth Shores Condo Association. You may remember recently we're just here for a revetment wall repair project that has been approved and I believe is going to be ongoing shortly in the next few months. So as they're working towards that, with coastal resilience in mind, our client has decided, as you can see by the picture, they are very close to the top of that wall. They would like to pick up and move this dwelling to the north and slightly east from where it is now, as well as lift it from where it is and make sure that it is flood zone compliant. So we are moving further away from the resource areas, rather large reduction in hardscape within that 50-foot buffer and within that 35-foot buffer. As part of that, they are going to rework some of the structure, but most of that structure is going to remain intact. They're just kind of improving efficiency in living areas and how everything will work there. We feel it's an improvement over current conditions and would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Just trying to get this straight in my mind. They're moving it back and over towards
Yeah,
the left, I guess you'd call it.
It's tough to see, but it is grayed out in the background of that colored plan. But that is, yeah, kind of the existing dwelling there, just to the right of that patio area, is kind of that back corner of where the house is now. So it's mostly going north towards the driveway. It is moving a few feet to the right, to the east side of that property.
So you're seeing a reduction or an increase from 12 feet to 29 feet. Is that correct?
Yes, with the main structure.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, is this a raise and replace, or is, how are you?
Is not, yeah, they're gonna, it's a very kind of interesting process. They basically jack up the house, put rollers on it, get rid of the old foundation, and they can slide it, build a new foundation under it, and then they drop it right back onto that new foundation. So they are doing some reworking of the structure, but the majority of that existing structure is going to remain as it is now.
So it's not going on stilts, it's going right on a foundation?
Correct, yeah, we're not in a velocity zone with the structure. We are in an A zone, so we will meet the new building codes for the height and the first floor and all the utilities for that.
But the first floor elevation in the old one was?
We're going up about 5 feet.
5 feet, but you're not putting stilts on it. What's going to be under the house, the new house?
It'll probably be a slab at grade with a concrete foundation with flood vents all around it.
So it'll still be a 4-foot crawl space type thing?
Thank you. I saw in the narrative that there's no mitigation required. Was the original house, did it come under our review for mitigation?
This would have been constructed, I think, in the 20s when this building was there, so.
I
it's
guess the
been
reason
there
I'm
for a long time.
asking is I don't understand why we're not looking at the new location in and of itself for mitigation because of the impact to, within the 35, 50-foot buffer. I just have a hard time not looking at that as requiring mitigation.
We're decreasing hardscape within those sensitive areas, so that's why no mitigation is proposed. You guys have a factor in your regulations of,
Yeah.
3 to 1, especially in those sensitive areas where we're moving it away from those zones. We feel like that's an improvement.
I'd asked Brittany this because there was some conflict in the description. On the moving, that's a big deal, and that is a lot of impact to the subsurface, what you describe as moving a structure like that. It is, so I think we need to see what, I know there's just a few companies that do that, and if we could see what they plan on doing, how, and the logistics of that, because of the impact to the subsurface. Are they drilling, are they?
No drilling. Like I said, they jack this thing way up in the air so they can work under it. And that's when they'll have typical machinery in there to, dig out a new foundation, build it, and then they can place this thing right back on that new foundation.
But I'd like to see how they're gonna restore the subsurface after that's all done.
Where the old
It'll be-
foundation used to be, you mean, or?
Yeah.
It'll be removed and filled with sand, I imagine,
Could we have something on that or some?
Will you be bringing in fill?
I don't think we'll need to bring in fill because the new foundation, we're not digging a hole, it's not, groundwater is not super deep here. So there's not a big hole under this foundation now. So will there be a little bit of fill? Maybe, but it's not gonna be a significant amount. It's just gonna match the existing grade around that area now.
Excuse me, which is, I've got it here, but which is the line for 50-foot for the new building?
50 foot, it cuts about halfway through there. yeah.
Second line?
Yep.
So the 100-foot and beyond, yeah.
Up there, yep.
So essentially, you still have some of the building in the 35.
A little bit, yep.
So essentially, and what's your runoff, how are you gonna handle runoff off the new building?
There are dry wells shown.
Okay.
Roof dry wells shown on that plan.
Okay, so this is not an unusual thing. I mean, I've seen where they've moved buildings. Bradford asked if this was a raise and replace, but it's really an RAISE and relocate, right?
Correct.
So that's somewhat common around here, I would
Yes.
think. And what is the foundation under the existing building? Is a slab?
I would have to confirm that. They may have a shallow crawl space, but
Oh,
like
yeah,
I said,
okay. I just was wondering what they'd be lifting up from the current location to the new location, and so.
Yeah, I believe it's a mix of concrete and rock.
Yeah.
It's an older house, so it's not like a newer poured concrete foundation.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting solution to the problem of being too close to the shore, I guess, so.
Yep.
Sounds interesting. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm questioning the patio being only, it's 12 and a half feet away and within the 35-foot buffer.
So there is a patio there now. We're getting further away from what is existing.
Is this the patio that was on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, there is a section of unpermitted patio. That was part of the old order conditions. They're actually out there today, I think, started removing that, so.
I know where I live right.
Remember that? Yeah.
So I would like to see the patio eliminated and how other people feel. It's in it's not a velocity zone, but it's in the 35-foot buffer.
Well, again, we are having a significant reduction in hardscape within that 35-foot buffer. Even with that patio there, they have a patio there now, which they enjoy and they'd like to continue to enjoy. We're getting further away from the resource areas, and that's our reasoning for it.
Anybody else?
Just to go off of the mitigation, I believe for that previous permit for the revetment, thank you. I think that one had a 10-foot buffer zone from the top of the coastal bank, was that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so.
None of this work
More-
will impact that. That will still be
Yeah,
there.
I just wanted to bring that back to the rest of our commission to just remember that there will be at least a 10-foot strip in that between the patio and the revetment.
Yeah, it's on there, yeah.
Anybody else?
I can't.
I know it's your turn. I was just thinking whether I wanted to say anything else first, but go ahead.
I think I sent you my questions ahead of time, did I? I can't remember. I have concerns about the work limit line. There's an area of, oops, that's not the right spot. There is an area of undisturbed vegetation that adds to the buffer on this side, and you're showing the work limit line go through it, and I'm wondering, so it's this dotted line, existing landscaped area, and I think that should remain protected as it's a naturalized area in the 35-foot buffer. And details about these landscaped areas that continue on to the proposed conditions, but I imagined they're going to be heavily impacted by the work. And what would the proposed conditions be if you're impacting those existing vegetated areas? Because so they should be replicated elsewhere. I understand this one on the side, it looks like a hedge of non-native variety, but this one perhaps may have some benefit, and it should be replicated if it's being negatively impacted from the construction. It does look like this might be rather close to the edge, so you need access fully around to the existing house. Let's see if I can pull up this. So to the extent possible, I'd like to see that work limit line protecting the vegetation on the south side. That's not it.
Add it up earlier. There you
I
go.
know, I don't know what rent. This here. So that's all naturalized vegetation. If some has to be impacted, it should be restored or replicated to add on to that 10-foot buffer. And if there's going to be any sort of landscape foundation plantings, we do need to review those to ensure they're native species within the 100-foot buffer. And I also am slightly confused on your cover table. It should reflect the template that we provide in our plan requirements, but with additions, the house is showing a decrease in coverage, and I don't imagine how that's possible if we're adding additions. So I would just request that you take a second look at the coverage table and make sure that the building coverage is correct, because you are proposing additions, but it's showing a decrease.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
You're saying building coverage versus our hardscape calculations, or?
Building coverage existing versus proposed. It shows a decrease, and that's not possible. If you could just take a second look at that coverage table and convert it into our template that we have.
I don't know, was the patio counted before, or?
We counted the existing patio that was permitted, not the unpermitted patio.
Yeah, maybe that's what's making it.
But he separates everything out. So it's specifically, if you could just double check if we are doing plan revisions anyway on that table.
Sure.
I would agree with Ellie that even though we're seeing a decrease in overall impact, it seems to be there's a little bit more space on the property to perhaps pull back a bit further. That's all. Thank you.
We pull it further in where they.
Further landward.
with the
Further landward, or just a slight reduction in that patio, because going from 10 to 12 is not much of a retreat.
Would you be opposed to reworking the patio area? So not pushing out as far, but maybe going to the west a little bit, or the east?
That seems amenable. especially because if you are impacting this vegetation, it might need to be elsewhere. And if you can't protect this whole swath of this portion of vegetation, it might need to be flattened out and added to the buffer.
Obviously, you'd want that vegetation as close to the buffer as possible.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody in the audience have anything?
Is there not?
Anybody online? Raise your hand. I don't see anybody. Okay, so when can we continue this till?
If you don't mind, I'd request at least a month.
Guys? So,
Hey.
March 5th again?
Arches?
It's gonna be a fun meeting.
That's fine. We don't cap our meetings.
So that would be great. So, do I hear a motion to continue to March 5th?
I will.
Okay. Paul, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next one is SE 832512, Cape and Island Engineering for Harbor Haven Association, 26 Grandview Drive, proposed drainage improvements, beach nourishment, and planted berm on a coastal beach, subject to coastal flooding, land subject to coastal flooding and riverfront area. And this again is, sorry, Grandview Drive. Got it. Thank you. Could introduce
Sorry,
yourself.
our easels have been commandeered and not returned.
Myself. Good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant Harbor Haven Association, with a notice of intent that proposes drainage improvements at the existing property. I'm going to go through existing conditions and then through the proposed project. Property is situated at the westerly edge of Bass River. It's located in between Bass River and Grandview Drive. There's an existing single-family home to both the north and south. The resource areas on the site consist of the land under ocean, coastal beach, a flood zone line that comes through the property, as well as there is a riverfront area. The 100-foot riverfront is shown, as well as the 200-foot goes almost all the way across Grandview Drive. So the entire project is also in the riverfront area. The proposed project is, the goal of it is to, during flash flood, real quick rain events, the existing catch basin that's there in the parking area that's along Grandview Drive does get overwhelmed and causes a washout of the existing association beach area, and it essentially washes.
You switch.
Let me just grab that one. So, okay, that's better. Under quick flash flood events, the catch basin can get overwhelmed, and then basically just the runoff just breaks out through the sand beach area, and makes it as far as it can out to Bass River. So we're trying to come up with an economical way that'll also be resilient to future flood events, and then even further into the future, to maintain and manage and control a large event. Smaller events, even long events that might have quite a bit of rain, that you can see there's some dashed lines in what is the parking area. That entire area has a subsurface drainage system already that does function quite well. Even after a large storm event, it does drain down in a matter of hours. It doesn't take days. A puddle does not stay there forever. So it does work quite well. It just has had issues handling a real flash flood, like inches in 10 or 20 minutes or an hour, or 5 inches in an hour, like we've had in the recent past. So the proposal is to number one is to just provide an asphalt Cape Cod berm around the existing pavement. Right now, there's just concrete parking stops, that just the 8-foot or 6-foot parking stops are on. So the first part is to just Cape Cod berm from the driveway to the north around and then over to back out to the roadway surface. And what that is doing is just providing a couple extra inches of ponding storage for an event that right now, as soon as it starts puddling and the subsurface can't handle it, it just hits the beach and just blows out down the beach. So one thing that the Cape Cod berm does is just provide a couple more inches to allow that subsurface system to work, basically. Then the other thing we're doing is the green strip that's between the parking area and the beach is a vegetated berm. And again, not a real big berm. It's depending on where it is on the site. The northern side of the berm is shorter. You can see there's a 6-foot contour there. So the berm's only at 6.5 feet. Elevation 6.5. So the berm is literally only 6 inches high at the northern end and a little bit higher on the southern end because that's where the catch basin is. So the grade drops from elevation 6 to the rim of the catch basin at elevation 5.22. So it drops about 9 inches just to drain into the basin. And that would be vegetated with native shrubs. It would have a post and rail fence just to have an opening for pedestrians to get into the site. What it would have at the back edge, so it's a 6-foot wide berm. It would have just a sand snow fence that would help with blowing sand, things like that. So that'll be at the interface between the vegetated berm and the remaining part of the beach. The other component that we are adding is at the southern edge of the project is a concrete weir overflow. So if there's a large enough event where the subsurface system manages as much water as it can manage, then the parking lot will handle some puddling, and then ultimately the water will flow over the concrete weir and flow down a vegetated swale along the southerly edge of the property. And what that does, and is partly described in a couple of the alternatives we showed, that will should manage every storm event. The water should go over that spillway and through the small riprap splash pad into the swale. If you look at models for 2070, we could have an 11-inch storm. It should handle that storm and at least get water down and away out of the parking lot. It should significantly reduce erosion that would happen if the project doesn't go forward. And one thing that does is the association has, with the help of the town, has had some engineered alternatives to add some more subsurface drainage in other parts of the neighborhood. They've gone out and got quotes of six-figure quotes on those systems. And the association has so far been unable to raise that type of money for the drainage. What this does is creates a vegetated option that should handle, and those systems, could still get overwhelmed. Any sort of those subsurface systems still have a certain capacity that they manage. So, we feel this is an alternative option that should helped the community for a long time. So just to recap, so the first part of the project is to provide some additional ponding in the parking area. The second is to provide an overflow, a managed overflow versus just busting out a pretty good swath of the beach, and then provide that vegetated swale. We do consider this as what's qualified as a redevelopment project, meaning we're not, this isn't combined with a new parking lot or expanded parking lot. We're just reusing the existing parking lot. So we're trying to provide upgrades to the best, most feasible as possible for the site and the constraints we're working in. We did receive some staff questions and concerns. I've been working through them. I do expect to just ultimately continue this tonight, but there's a few items I'd like to specifically try to get a little input from the commission on, and again from Brittany. If you don't mind, can I just pick out a couple of them and then you can go through the rest. There was a comment that the riprap, so the riprap's that small little stone piece in the southwesterly corner, yeah, right there. So what that is, the concrete, it flows over, it's a splash pad just to manage if there's some significant flow, it's trying to dissipate that before it hits the swale. That isn't consistent with coastal beach performance standards. As well as I have proposed that the core of the berm is actual fill, a little bit of fill. It's 6 feet wide by about 6 inches, in order to just propose some stability to it. I feel if we vegetate a sand berm, it has just as much likeliness to possibly blow out as, so those are proposed. I would like to just provide a little history. The development was built in the 60s. I did some research, and when I respond, I can provide some images. In the 50s, the beach essentially ran along the front of the property, came up to the neighbor's new wall. And so, it's a beach. The association wants to keep a beach. I question a little bit whether it's man-made. This uppermost portion should really be held to the standards of a beach. We feel this is a good option, and just like to talk about that further, if the commission thinks that riprap pad and the berm could be allowed, even though, yes, it's a beach. And just one more I think I wanted to cover. Actually, so there's like 3 comments related to beach performance standards, and we just would like to further discuss, whether or not this proposal kind of meets beach performance standards. And there was a question about a stormwater report. We could definitely, I think, which I haven't provided yet, is an operation and maintenance plan for both the existing subsurface structures that are there, that they're continued to be maintained properly, as well as the new BMPs, the swales, the riprap overflows, and the outlet. However, we've not analyzed, the contributing area from the entire subdivision. This is meant to kind of retrofit what's there. I could review. I was just told today from the association that the engineering department did do some work to come up with a couple other subsurface systems that, again, would be quite expensive. So I could take a look at that. So I'm kind of asking, I guess, for a waiver or a lessened stormwater management report. You know, we're providing this alternative as an overflow. We're not necessarily analyzing the quantity of subsurface drainage that's there. We can, you know, if if the commission feels we need to. But I think those were the main things. We can provide the existing and proposed beach profile. Oh, in another, the last portion of the project is the beach nourishment. So the couple of washouts that did happen, you know, there's a visible almost a swale down this entire beach parcel. So you'll see there's some contours. There's a 3-foot contour is the solid line with the box around it. And there's we're not looking to, you know, change thing a lot, just kind of flatten out, you know, from the edges, just flatten it versus the swale that's there. So like at the 3-foot contour, the existing grade's approximately 2.7, 2.5, so it's about 6 inches. The 4-foot contour is about a foot. And then the 5, there's between a foot and 6 inches. So we can provide that profile. I think with that, I'd like to, Brittany can add to that and take your questions for now. Thanks.
First of all, it's so minutia. I need a blow-up of the corners, what you just showed up on the screen, and all the way around. So you can see where the water would go and a few arrows and things like that, so my old eyes can follow that. And even more so blown up than what she has right now. The left, you know, the corner.
Yep.
This is all very nice, and it looks like you have it well thought out, and I don't have any problem with trying to do it without going to great costs, but I need to see what the heck is happening.
This is what you mean, right? This, we're doing this stuff. This corner.
Yeah, well, actually, I'd have sectional, about 4 or 5, that follows everything down to the disposal.
We'll come up with a clearer way, you know, whether it's a few 10 scale. 10 scale, I think would be great. It would show everything. We'll figure out how to do that.
That's all I got right now.
I more just have a comment on the plantings that were chosen. There's a lot of what I would consider like more freshwater inland plants, blue flag iris, marsh marigold. It might be better to choose some that are better suited to a coastal environment, bayberry, beach plum, things like that. That's my comment.
Okay, it's a good comment. I'll accept it.
I don't know, Brittany, can you show these photos up there?
Yeah, are those from the application?
Yeah, I just want to know what, I think this is the swale you're speaking of here?
So there's no swale right now. There's just some erosion in the beach. So these are storm photos, and there's just a little bit of a...
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
What is happening there?
That's just showing the previous beach erosion.
Okay, but what's driving that? Where is
Stormwater.
that? Okay, so there's all this, why wasn't it decided to replace or get rid of the pavement? Just seems like a lot of this water flow is because of that impervious. It's not much of it, but
Why not make it pervious?
yeah, why was that looked at? It had to be looked at. Did you look at removing the pavement? I'm back at the drawing now.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is a pretty significant underground system, and at least with the pavement, by going in the catch basin, and then that allows some settling to happen in the catch basin. The cleaner water can go to the system. I think in these conditions with sand always, you can see the sand on those pictures. The sand, I think, would clog up that system pretty quickly if it was changed from pavement to shells or stone or gravel. And I think that parking area is probably only about 1% of the pavement that is contributing to that. There's the road going up that way, the road coming back from the other intersections. It was not really an option, in my opinion, to remove that, just mostly because of the pretty significant system that's under it. As soon as you take away that pavement, every little silty piece of sand and just all that, anytime it rains, that silt and sand will just go into the ground and clog up that system. So it's an attempt to, and it does work. It handles most events. It just that fills up, and then those other pictures of the washout that happens if it does fail.
So kind of what you're saying is, because it's not all on here, but there's a road coming down that hill, down Grandview, and a road off of Grandview, and all that water is making its way into your...
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Both sides of the road kind of
Yeah.
go down into it, funnel right there.
Yeah, I see where you're going from. I assume those are 9-foot, 9.3 to 6. So yeah, you really wouldn't help too much. So the berm is the solution. Yeah.
They wouldn't like you to build a berm or something up there, a curb that would fit it back into the road.
Not high enough. What we're also avoiding is diverting it around into the neighbors. Yes, so that's why things are only 4 to 7 inches high. We could pour a 2.5-foot concrete wall around there, but then it'll go into the neighbors. And one thing about this is when we've been getting a lot of flooding projects where it's causing 3 feet of water in somebody's basement, or at least it's causing erosion on a beach and not endangering somebody's life, essentially, almost. Electric, there's no electrical components at risk or anything like that. So at least,
I just had one last question on whether or not, when will you know if phase 2 will be required?
So again, budget is weighing heavily on the association's mind. So that we would, the minute that this berm got overtopped once, it would be required.
No.
And that's a request. You can ask us to just do the project all at once, but it was a request that, again, the system that's underground does work well, and we're hoping that just by providing a few more inches of ponding, we've had some pretty major storms. I'm sure they're still going to happen, but we could get lucky and they don't happen too. So,
So are we looking at it, Brittany, are we looking just at phase 1? Or do we look at it like phase 2
No,
if
you'd
it
have to
happens?
permit everything on the
Yeah,
plan,
okay.
including the resource area delineations, which coming back to your comment about the coastal beach, if you've delineated it as coastal beach, is that correct?
Yes.
So it meets, okay. There's also salt marsh that has to be delineated and shown on the plan. It just says naturally vegetated. And I've just noticed, since we were unable to do a site visit, that in this photo it is salt marsh. So that does need to be shown on the plan, and its buffer zones, which could impact the end of the swale. A couple other comments about the stormwater. If you didn't do any calculations what kind of rain event could you expect this? So we just need to see some sort of calculations. We need to know how this design was, how it came to be, how it was informed, what led you to make the decisions to use this weir overflow structure for the height of the berm, for the depth of the swale. They should be informed by some sort of calculations. It doesn't need to be extensive, but they need to exist and show the evidence for your proposal. In regards to the coastal beach, we were talking about placing filter fabric, loam, or riprap would be eliminating the coastal beach resource area, which is what we can't do under the Act. So when we met, we did meet to discuss a phase early design of this project. And you've taken a lot of those into consideration, my comments from then, but I think I was trying to lead you into a more natural approach to try and deal with this stormwater situation. Like the asphalt berm is a great idea. I was thinking more of a focus on the vegetated elements and that berm that you have that you're proposing very small. But I think that the issue that we're having here with the stormwater can be managed in a more natural way, or with all of the engineered structures relocated off of the coastal beach in maybe one parking spot area's worth of space in that existing paved area to reduce the impacts on the resource area. And I think that if you had, I saw you mentioned an alternatives analysis, but I didn't see one in there. Is it in there?
Yeah, it's in the narrative. There's a section, basically had three things. The do nothing alternative, this preferred one, and then adding more subsurface drainage throughout the community.
I think there could be potential for some in-between alternative between the one you're proposing and one that has less impacts than this. That's not new subsurface drainage. I think there can be somewhere where you can rethink this area or a portion of it in this corner to handle the stormwater and not have any negative impacts or hardened structures or alternative soils on the coastal beach surface.
Could they put a catch basin in?
There is a catch basin there. So they're trying to add to the stormwater system capacity, which I understand. I just don't think under the performance standards, this project would be permittable as they are written. And that it could be possible that a lower impact design could be thought of. I'm fully in support of planting a berm. I think that would definitely help in the top, just in a more natural way with plants that are adapted to this area. And to that point, we do have revised plan requirements that require a planting professional to stamp or sign off on planting plans, especially when they're in resource areas, just to ensure that we're using the proper plant material for the location. And just as a comment, nourishment is all good. It cannot be placed below mean high water. You have a really, really tiny portion of hatch below mean high water. Is that important to you?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Yes, I'm finished. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody in the audience? Is someone online? I can't even tell. Anybody online? Raise your hand. No? Okay, so we're going to continue till, I think you need how long?
Probably be beyond next week. So I'd hate to do the 5th again.
Fine.
But that's about the right amount of time. So.
Okay. I need a
Is the commission comfortable with the guidance given, or you have any other questions?
Just to go back one time to the stormwater, I mean, the the weir is more designed with the elevations in play, and, you know, the neighboring streets or the neighboring driveways and the neighboring land, you know, it's, if the water gets to elevation 6, it's designed to just freely get into this swale before it goes to a neighbor's house or anything. I mean, again, we can take a look at some numbers, but that's the main basis of the design of the vertical elevations, just giving this water a chance to get out and away without preparing, you know, creating erosion. I can try to figure out the drainage area associated with essentially the catch basin, the low point on site. And can see what I can provide, and answer it the best we can. But the main basis is just the elevation related controls at the property, and then with the idea to handle bigger and bigger events. In my opinion, it should be able to handle any kind of event that gets to there. This a 4-foot wide spillway will let a lot of water go through. So
in this alternative, you're assuming the existing subsurface drainage is still working, or
yes,
not? Okay, I mean, or
yes, it handles 99% of events. How many times did it actually wash out, you think?
4 or 5 times in the past 5 years. I mean, that drain is, handles according to the town, they'll handle 2 inches of rain in a 24-hour period.
Yes. And they maintain it, and definitely, like I said, an O&M plan with very specific requirements on maintenance. That definitely we can provide. But that's all I have, and yeah, we'd like to go ahead with the continuance.
I have a motion to continue to, what do we say, the 5th of March?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Losing track of things here. Okay. The next one is SE 83 2515 Cape Engineering for Joseph Amarello. 56 Pleasant Street, proposed bulkhead replacement on a coastal bank, land subject to coastal storm flooding in the riverfront area. They are asking to be continued to 2/19/26. Do I hear a motion to continue?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I'll give
Ellie,
you
Bradford
Bradford the
second.
movement and Ellie the second.
I did the opposite.
But Ellie's the second.
In the second, yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed. So next is a request for COC, SE 83 2310, FC for Valentina and Murcia, Hacha, I hope that's right, 52 Wilson Road.
This has been requested by me and agreed upon by the applicant to continue to 3/19/2026 to be able to evaluate site conditions.
Okay, so 319 in order to evaluate the area and the conditions. So do I hear a motion to continue to 319?
So moved.
Second.
Jack, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
What happened to 22 Driftwood?
It's not on the agenda.
Okay. But it,
Okay. Stormwater management permit for SW 2025-002 Tiger Bond for Boston Gas Company, DBA National Grid. 127 White's Path, proposed tree removal, regrading, and paving for construction of a new liquefied natural gas tank and associated infrastructure.
We are waiting for the peer review to be completed, so this will be continued to the 19th.
February 19th?
February 19th.
Okay, do I hear a motion to continue to February 19th?
So moved.
Okay, Jack, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
yeah,
Approval
Jack,
of mi-
that's a nitrogen tank, Jack.
Approval of minutes for 1/15/2026. I made one little, I think,
Did you respond?
correction, yeah, it was just a little spelling error. I think they
Okay.
misspelled Christian's name again.
I don't think I even reviewed them. But I don't
Anybody
need
have
to,
an
you
issue?
do.
Can I have a motion to accept the 1:15 minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Ellie, second, anybody? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And draft regulation schedule for 219-2026. You want to say something?
This is pending because we updated the planning drawing requirements. They are in the regulations, so we have to update the regulations. I will be proposing to just say, see approved on website. And if you'd like to look in there for anything else that you'd like to change, there may be an opportunity to add some application requirements for a variance request, mimicking other towns, like investigating alternatives to show that a lower impact does not exist, but we can leave that up to discussion. This is mostly to get the plan and drawing requirements officially in the record.
I understand that. Okay. Nothing we
I don't
need to
have
do.
anything else.
Okay, anybody have anything else? It's getting late, it's 8 o'clock. No? Okay, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Get it?